Hi everybody, I'm Matt Waymeyer with AgriMAXX Wheat Company. In my discussions with many of you, you guys had a phenomenal wheat harvest with many new growers entering into the 100 bushel club. Congratulations, that's excellent. Now, this wasn't for everybody. We had our challenges and we had our successes, right? So what I'd like to do is share with you guys some of the key observations we made this past growing season that influenced yield, that were key drivers in pushing these yields with our high performance wheat varieties into the 100 bushel club. In addition, I'd like to introduce to you the new AgriMAXX varieties that will be available for sale this fall. They are excellent and they're going to be game changers as it relates to performance on your farm. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to sharing some of these insights with you guys.
So as we take a look back at what was going on out in our fields of 2020, what separated the elite fields from the average fields, what constituted high performance wheat, and what drove our growers into the 100 bushel club. We tried to boil it down into three main components. One being the excellent stand density and a well-fed nitrogen program out in the fields. Number two, we avoided the spring freeze that we went through in mid-April. And number three, the 100 bushel club growers utilized fungicides. The elite fields out in the field utilized fungicides, and we'll show you some pictures of the differences that we saw. If there's one takeaway that I could leave you with, is never give up on your wheat. Here's one of our high performance wheat plots, and on the left it didn't look very good. It was thin, it was puny, it didn't have a lot of biomass, a lot of matter, but never give up on it. Keep feeding that crop, keep caring for that crop, because at the end of the day it turned into a beautiful plot with excellent yields. Wheat is very resilient and it responds to management. Now here is a study that goes into NDVI in conjunction with jointing. And as you can see, as the NDVI gets higher, which is the biomass out in the field, so does the yield. So when you take a look at how do you influence yield throughout the different growth stages, take a look at this chart in the upper left. The yellow star is when tillers are forming. And when tillers are forming, that's when you're determining your head size. A fall tiller will produce a bigger head than a spring tiller. So when those tillers form is very critical on the head size potential of that tiller. But by jointing, when you see that first node of stem visible, you have accomplished two additional critical yield components. One being the number of heads that are going to be present out in your field, the number of heads per square yard or the number of heads per acre. And secondly, the number of kernels per head is already determined at week 6. And so there's a lot going on early on. So we never want to give up on our crop. There's things we can do to keep pushing this thing forward. So here we took 12 inches of row. This is after jointing. And we cut it off at the base. And we separated out the tillers. So this gave us a great look at what our population is. What are the opportunities out in the field? So we had 21 main heads, 21 T1s, 18 T2s, and 18 T3s, of which the main heads and the T1s, they're going to bring the majority of the yield. And so those two combined contributed to 604 heads per square yard. With those two alone, we were hitting within our goal, within our strike zone of 600 to 800 heads per square yard. So this is a very good stand density of what we're shooting for, what we're striving for. So early spring, we need to assess our tiller counts to determine what is our spring nitrogen program. Different varieties, different plant dates, they will all change what our nitrogen needs are going to be. In that far right picture on the tailgate of the truck, you can see these fields were very close together in the same road. The top needed a lot of nitrogen early, and the bottom, it was very thick, it was very dense. It has a much different nitrogen program requirement than what the tillers at the top were. Here's another situation where it was the same planting date, two different varieties, AgriMAXX 463 and 454, different tillering capabilities, and you can see where one has less tillers, the 463, and the 454 had more tillers. So The different tiller counts will determine our nitrogen programs, and here is why. And here's what we can do with it. So we have two different nitrogen application windows. The first application is Feeks 3, the yellow star. The second application is that red star at Feeks 5. So look at it this way. The first application at green up. What is our stand density? Do we need to beef it up? Do we need to maintain it? Or are we adequate and we can just sit back? So those are the three proxies that we look at. And then the second application, that's where you drive yield. With that application, it is at jointing. There's no more tillering that's going to occur. That application feeds that crop from then all the way through harvest and the combine. So again, the first application is for tiller management, head count management. Do we have enough heads per square yard? Do we need to beef it up? Do we need to maintain, slow it down? And that second application drives yield. So when we look at 2020, how much nitrogen was enough? Did we have enough out there? Did we have too much out there? That's always a fine line that we try to manage. 100 bushel per acre wheat needs 188 pounds of nitrogen throughout the growing season. Doesn't always need to be an applied nitrogen, but it needs to be accessed through the plant. So that could come via fall fertilizer, spring nitrogen. Is there soybean credits? Is the organic matter in your soil contributing? Are there other sources of nitrogen present? Maybe carryover nitrogen from a corn crop, for example. We believe that the crop of 2020 across much of Illinois needed more nitrogen. We did not see a lot of lodging, so I feel like the fields that had the elite yields that were in the 100 bushel club had at least 120 pounds or more of spring applied nitrogen out there, and what drove yields higher. So the mid-April freeze, this was another weather event that we had to manage around and had to deal with, and it had a varying effects. So from Tennessee, Kentucky, southeast Missouri, eastern Missouri, southern Illinois, central Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, was very widespread. Doesn't mean that it hit everyone equally, but there was effects of it. And you can see here with the different pictures, the spring freeze provided different symptomology and how can we avoid it, the spring freeze. So here are some steps that some growers who did or didn't receive damage. Here's some things why. We want to follow the fly-free date if possible. There was a lot of wheat that was planted behind prevent plant acres. It was sown early this last year. Let's see if we can start early October, and that's optimum timing. We want to plant our later maturity varieties first, and we want to plant our early maturities last. So we want to finish the season with our earliest maturities. In 2020, an early plant date with an early maturity tended to be lower yielding. In addition, if we have an early maturity with an early plant date, we really don't need to compound our problem by applying too much early nitrogen. That can predispose us to additional freeze risks. So the third thing that really drove yields higher out in the fields that we observed this past year, did you use fungicide? High management growers, 100 bushel club growers, they were utilizing fungicides once or twice. The big money maker this year was the Feeks 10.51, Prosaro, Carumba, or Mirvis Ace at early bloom. And you can see how there's yellow anthers hanging on these heads. That is the ideal timing, 20% early bloom. And at this stage, we are controlling Fusarium head blight, leaf rust, stripe rust, gloom blotch, some of those leaf diseases and head diseases, and keeping that plant healthy and strong during the grain fill period. We are getting close to the end of the race. There's 6 weeks left in this plant's life, and keeping it alive and healthy and filling grain is going to drive yield higher. And here's an example of its driving yield higher. This is a 13 bushel per acre response with a fungicide. That's $71 an acre at $5.50. That's a wonderful return on investment, and you can clearly see that line in this picture. And so getting into the 100 bushel club, fungicides are almost a given to help you get there. So looking back at our 100 bushel club growers of 2020, they had a high head count out in the field. They hit 600 to 800 heads per square yard. They had a healthy fertility program. Remember how much nitrogen that plant needs for 100 bushels per acre. They did avoid the spring freeze by planting later maturing varieties first, early maturing varieties last. And they used fungicide, 1 application or 2 applications, of which the Feeks 10.51 application bringing home the biggest return on investment of 10 to 20 bushels. So this fall, as we look at the AgriMAXX brand portfolio, we have a wide variety of options, and they're all excellent choices, and they have their unique fits each on your operation. 490, that's been in the lineup for a while, and you guys love it. It's the earliest on the market. It's 5 days earlier than anything out there, so it's going to allow you the earliest start, plant your double crop sooner, and get your better double crop bean yields. It has superior test weight, 63, 64 pound test weight, and it fits across all soil types. It's not a racehorse top-end yielder like some others are, but it has key advantages of being in your rotation. AgriMAXX 463, this is an early variety, and this is #1 for head scab. It is elite head scab variety. It's best positioned on good soils and where you can drive yield higher. And growers have commented that it's a low straw wheat. No tilling double crop beans into 463 is a dream. AgriMAXX 473, this is a medium early, and this is an all-around performer. There's so many good things to say about 473. It is great on head scab, elite yield, good test weight, resistance to stripe rust, leaf rust. It's great on defense, but it's great on offense. In a high management program, you can beef it up, and it has incredible floret fertility. You'll set 4 to 5 wheat berries in a spikelet. It's a great variety for you guys. AgriMAXX 454, now we're in our medium class of maturities, and just as this number sounds, it's all about horsepower. This is all about yield. This is our #1 top-end yield potential variety. It's our lead variety over multiple years within our high-performance wheat testing, but it is a racehorse variety. You have to use fungicides on 454, and it turns into a yield monster. You can place it on across all soils, even heavy soils. 475 is a medium maturity, a little short plant with stiff straw. We like that. It's easy to thrash with your combine. You can cut it with high moisture, which might work really well in conjunction with the Seymour Milling premiums. They have the wet wheat program, and if you're a grower wanting to capture their premiums, 475 is on their list. Excellent head scab variety as well. And AgriMAXX 485. This is a medium maturity, a smooth-headed variety. And this is a triple threat: elite scab, test weight, and yield. And we have found that 485 is a great variety, particularly on lighter soils, clay soils, average soils. Under heavy ground, it's okay, but on light ground, 485 really excels. Also, if you are a grower that likes to plant early in the fall, 485 is a great variety to plant early. It joints late, it wakes up slow in the spring, and you're not as at risk for spring freeze injury. Now I'd like to take a couple minutes and introduce to you some of our newest varieties. So AgriMAXX 503. So AgriMAXX 503 is 463 2.0. Think of it that way. It's a medium early. It has the same long, attractive grain head that AgriMAXX 463 had. You can see it here in the video. Super catchy, super showy. But the neat thing about 503 is that it is 2 pounds heavier test weight, 12 bushel better this year in our testing so far than 463. So we're getting an improvement in test weight and an improvement in yield. Now it will be 2 days later, and it carries the same excellent head scab scores, and we're noticing that it has an improved stress tolerance over a wide array of soil profiles. So we think 503 will also work not only in the good soils, but in your average ground and your lighter ground, maybe on some clays as well. And you can see a picture here. The number of spikelets per head is it's pretty impressive. And here's a picture on some lighter ground. Beautiful, beautiful field. If you're in a high fertility environment, we would recommend using Palisade with your Harmony, just to make sure that it doesn't get too tall, too robust, and you'll have a fun harvest with AgriMAXX 503. This is AgriMAXX 505, and we are really bullish on 505. This is a medium maturity, and in last year's testing, it was our #1 yielder and our #1 test weight variety. What more do you want, right? This is an elite all-around performer. We think it'll be very, very friendly out on the farm. It has stiff straw. It'll work in all soils, and you can see here in the pictures that it's not a very robust canopy. This variety may not generate a lot of straw, so it'd be great for the double cropper, to where you can go in and plant your double crop beans and not have to fight with a lot of straw as well. And this variety, this is going to be special. There's nothing better than having 110 bushel wheat with 63-pound test weight, and 505 definitely has it in the cards, and it's going to be a main player and a high flyer here for the AgriMAXX brand moving forward. So as we look into the fall of 2020, we want to thank you for your business. We hope you've had a good success with AgriMAXX so far. We are very excited about the future. The 500 series coming in, they're going to bring the next level yield with elite test weight combinations, and we hope that it's just nothing but thumbs up while you're at harvest. And again, we want to thank you for your business and support, and let us know if there's anything we can do to help you raise a better wheat crop and shoot for the 125 bushel club. Thank you very much.